180.
Right, B, well, as we do, we have a little loose/solid narrative that generally runs through this show, depending on how we feel about things. But we are roughly around that 2001-2002 period when we last sort of got together and talked a bit about INXS and the new millennium. And we are trying to sort of, I guess, through the length and breadth of this whole podcast existence, do an anthology on the band. So what's really interesting today, B, is the word anthology does come out in our topic today. So we're going to be diving deep into around this 2001-2002 period where compilations for INXS material were absolutely on the go. And we'll break down why and how and some of the different compilations that are out there. We are going to only talk about official stuff. I do appreciate that some people out there like to have bootleg things and things together. I'm a bit old school. I always think if the band doesn't get paid and I'm not really into it and it's not really a real item, that's just my taste. I do appreciate out there some other people do like to sort of acquire some of those things and collect them and treat them as though they are official type things. And some of them are, quite well put together, but we're only going to be talking about official stuff within this topic here. So we will go into that particular part of our podcast soon. But B, what's it time for?
It's time for the news.
All right, well, as B said, a little bit of anniversary at the moment. INXS Swing is celebrating its 40th anniversary, which has gone by very quickly. As a kid growing up with Shabu Shabar, in terms of knowing the singles, the Swing was the sort of the first time I really got involved with the whole album, and it was something that was played on the radio from track 1 to track 10 or 11, and it is something that, as you said earlier, B, has piqued the interest of a lot of people communicating on our platforms. It's not something we're afraid either, B, to go back and almost re-review. We never really want to repeat ourselves on this podcast, but when we go back to the early days, B, when we were doing album reviews, they probably only went for about 30, 40 minutes, and we probably weren't confident enough to tackle them in much detail. So we probably could go back and pull apart a lot of the albums and really bring a fresh, take on them, couldn't we?
Definitely for me, because I hadn't really listened to them much at the beginning because I was quite not a new fan, but a new fan
rediscovery
with a lot of the fans that are out there.
Yeah.
So it'd be really good now to go with fresh eyes again.
All right, next bit of news. Thanks to Laurel Snyder. She's very prolific with her own platform, but I did share on her own platforms her little article from, it's called B&N Breaking. And there was an article there that actually sort of consolidated a lot of the chart action in the alternative digital charts, as well as some of the other charts that we mentioned last week. Regarding INXS, Never Tear Us Apart. It's getting a bit of a rebirth in America. It does go into a bit more statistical stuff and a little bit more deep dive on just the relevance of that of the song getting a new audience in a modern day setting. If anyone out there has access to the Billboard charts and can give us live updates, fantastic. We said last week it is $197 a year US to just get figures on a chart, which is sort of morally a bit wrong. You have to actually pay to find out where a chart position is, but that's the way they do it. But if you do have access to those charts, please feel free to share any content or any updates. All right, Kirk, back in the limelight, B. You did mention this, I think, last week, but Kirk's been a very, very good ambassador for a lot of charities over his journey. And I guess, B, as you're aware, he's an ambassador for glaucoma. I know my late mother had that, and obviously it is a challenge for anybody.
Got it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I believe he did an interview. Was that right on Sunrise the other week? Is that with Koshi? No, not with Koshi. It was someone else.
No, Koshi's gone.
He's gone, isn't he? Yeah, Koshi's gone. Whoever the next guy is.
Yeah, he did a great interview. We've put it onto the platform, so you can see that on Instagram and on Facebook.
And Kirk, funnily enough, posted on Facebook the other day. He was down in, I think it's called Bucketees Brewing, which was in Brookvale. Now, we had a drink or two after our little pub run. Remember there when we were doing the tour? I don't know
to my mate's pub, didn't we?
Yeah, I don't know if this is the same one, but anyway, Kurt was in there the other day, and Lane's in there holding up a pot plant covering her face because there's a cover band in there playing INXS tracks. So I think Kirk posted something and the band posted something out. I think the band said, "Oh, this is the facial expression you make when you realise the band you're covering and a band member's in the audience listening." So I thought that was quite amusing.
I've also got another little thing on Kirk. My friends, what they're called, Lisa and Dan, they sent me a message to say we are on a plane behind Kirk and we're just coming back from Fiji.
Right. Okay.
We've got the spies out, Kirk, so watch out.
Also, too, it is football season back in Australia, and as a lot of people do know, the song Never Tear Us Apart, aforementioned, is the theme song for Port Adelaide Football Club, and they did play that the other day for football as the last 60 seconds there. But the Newcastle Jets are doing that, which I believe is the soccer team up in Newcastle way, doing that song as well. So it's funny, again, this song, as I said, was at the Super Bowl, it's at the AFL, it's the soccer, it's getting a new life in so many ways, isn't it, Pete? It's still growing. Also, too, a couple of little deep dives. I did come across this, which was interesting. Back in 1992, on the 27th of July, there's a radio show called The Mark and Brian Show. Now, this is very attainable on YouTube. Fantastic interview with Kirk and Tim in America at the time. talking about their welcome to wherever you are type promo stuff. They did actually mention, they listened to it today, so they were at that period of time negotiating or dealing with or having the possibility of doing a Tom Jones collaboration, which probably never got off the ground. Maybe it went to Ray Charles instead on the next sort of full moon album and things. But the idea came about because INXS played Vegas, and INXS for the one and only time played She's Not Unusual. So, and I think Tom was in the audience or whatever there. So there was this sort of discussion there. So it was a little anecdote I never knew of at the time. Obviously never gained emphasis, although fast forward 8-9 years later, Tom did cover Never Tear Us Apart with Natalie Imbruglia.
Yeah,
So there's swings and roundabouts there. A couple of little publications you can deep dive on. There's one called Rock Reflections. There's a really good deep dive on the song New Sensation. It does cover not necessarily new terrain, but interesting information. Big shout out. This is one guy I think is cool, B. Do you know a band called Queens of the Stone Age?
I have heard of them.
Right.
Have we spoke about them before?
We might have, but there's a lead singer there called Josh Home, or Homme, depending how you pronounce it. Now, he's also in These Crooked Vultures with Dave Grohl's a side project. Yep. And a few different things. But there is some great footage on his Instagram page of him with Chad Smith, the drummer from the Chili Peppers, playing Don't Change at the Aviator Nation's Dreamland. Sings the song there, which again, Don't Change, just as we've said previously, covers so many eras and genres and covers as well. Also, too, Andrew Ferris sort of wrapped up his tour, I believe. There are some highlights on YouTube. I think you can go on to YouTube and see at the Imperial Hotel him playing By My Side. I do know he also played at one of the other venues, She's Got to Be Loved, which was a Jenny Morris cover. They had a female singer singing that part with him. So you can find plenty of Andrew material from his tour if you haven't seen it.
Sorry, while we're talking about Andrew, did you see what Carmen put in the thread for us, or did you see that?
Remind me.
Carmen also has just finished an INXS quilt. And she took it to one of Andrew's shows, and he was so gracious to sign it. And it's going on display at the Berry Quilt Show in Berry, New South Wales in May. And yeah, it's beautiful. How lovely is that? Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well done, Carmen.
All right. Also, too, our friends at Old Time Music B, they're back out there again interpreting INXS songs. Okay. I almost put this in the news every week because I do find it funny. But if you do want to go to Old Time Music, that sort of blog site, you might get the meaning of what they think to look at news about, or By My Side, or Do What You Do, or send a message. So just a shout out for those guys to keep their site going along. Also, too, there's a blog called American Songwriter. They do a quite a good deep dive in Suicide Blonde. So again, all of these particular things are, not always linear, but they are recent in their publication. So it's worth a look at. And the last thing, a shout out to the Induct INXS page. I did have a look at it today. They did post something that I might have mentioned before, but I'd highlight again. Dave Gleason from an Australian band called the Screaming Jets that used to be under the Ruart label that Chris Murphy ran, has a great little anecdote about singing Don't Change on stage with Michael in Germany back in 91. He just wanted to meet Michael, and then suddenly he was asked to come up on stage and sing, and he just thought it was one of the most amazing moments of his life. And it's a great little sort of add-on to the Induct INXS page.
And do you listen to David Gleason on the radio?
Absolutely. So on Triple M.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he's really funny.
He does. They have a rock show that's on every night, and they play new bands and old bands and things like that. And Dave has, for those from overseas, he's been sort of the lead singer of the Angels, along with the Screaming Jets, the last number of years. And the Angels were a band that friend of the show, Mark Opitz, worked very closely with in the early days, and probably were another version of AC/DC, but I reckon they're even better than AC/DC. So there you go. I'm excited about this topic. I've had this sort of on the agenda for about 30 weeks. We finally got around to the period where it relates to, and that is compilations and best-ofs and things like that. And we're going to sort of break down sort of the ones that we're going to talk about in a moment. But I thought to kick things off, pardon the pun, can you think back to growing up or any sort of formative best-ofs or greatest hits or compilations that resonated with you when you were younger?
Yeah, I suppose my first one would have been the Red and the Blue album by the Beatles.
Yep.
I think I was about 12, and I found the vinyl at my auntie's house and asked if I could borrow it. And I think I played it. And I just got obsessed with the Beatles, and I started collecting things. And I remember I then started reading Cynthia Lennon's book. And, it just rolls on, doesn't it, when you've got such a catalogue straight away of all the music, because the Red and the Blue album, it starts off right at the beginning.
I mean, the Red one was that sort of, when they were more of a boy band.
Me and
62 to 66, then you had the 67 to sort of 70 or whatever, I think, which was the sort of the Blue one with all the sort of when they did the Sgt. Pepper's Onward stuff.
Yeah. My brother's really deeply into them, and the Doors. That was the other one I got into as kids.
We're excited.
What about you?
Yeah, well, it's funny. Growing up, I guess in our era, we grew up with sort of records or vinyl, and we grew up with tapes. They were really the two major sort of things that we had to, listen to our music. One on a record player and one obviously on a tape deck. CDs in the early 90s became sort of more paramount for everybody, and probably the late 80s, they sort of started to come in sort of initially, I guess, in their earlier incarnation. But as a kid growing up, often, when I would go to my dad's place and open up the drawer, I'd see all these tapes and best ofs and compilations of things. And if we went up for long trips on holidays, he would put one on, and it might be the best of, it'd be a country western singer, or it might be Johnny Cash and things like that, or he'd put on Billy Joel or whatever. It might be some of those things. But the notion of sort of a compilation, for the average fan or a new fan or a learning fan can be really cool, because you sort of get all the best songs and all the best hits in one sort of thing. So if you're a sort of a passive fan of any band or artist, and you can get one of those greatest hits, well, it jam packs everything on there, and if I, said to some people, like, if they were Prince fans, or in some cases the Beatles, as you said, a lot of the people only know those greatest hits and some of those best ofs. They don't really know the deep cuts on each album. I guess with INXS, one of the things that probably, supported them particularly well, that made things really, really successful, was that had such a depth of singles that went out, a depth of material that went out. So once it came compilation sort of period for them, they definitely, had one simple problem. That is, what do we leave off?
Oh, yes.
Because if you go back to the vinyl format, sometimes vinyl, you'd have a double album, you'd have to have an A and a B side on one album and an A, B on the other. But you have a certain space limitation. And then when CDs came in, that made it a bit easier. Yeah. But even still, you can only fit a certain amount of material within a CD. It's not like streaming now, where it's all file related. Back then, there was a space or a storage issue of how much you could fit. Equally tapes as well. So what we're going to sort of do today is talk a little bit about sort of the compilation scenarios, I guess, of the band. It's probably going to be a 2-episode, because there's just so many things that came out now. But if I pick this particular period, 2001 and 2002, remembering the narrative, we've lost Michael, 4 years earlier. The band aren't quite committing to a future just yet. In 2001, they did the Just for Kicks tour with John Stevens up the coast, and we spoke a little bit about the year 2000, the new millennium and stuff there. But they weren't this sort of rebounding entity. They weren't exactly at this point in time coming back with Back in Black and coming back with a resurgence. They were probably treading water as to what they were going to do. Were they going to reform? Were they going to be a touring act only? Were they going to have John Stevens as a guest singer? Were they going to go down the female route? All these different things. It was probably only towards sort of the end of 2002, around August, that they decided to say, hey, John, you're now going to be part of the band. And we'll park some of that stuff for another episode about John and things like that. But what was happening was the record companies, like they do, did want to make money and did want to sort of, cash in on the band's, catalogue. At this particular point in time, Chris Murphy wasn't managing the band. The band had various labels and things like that. And I know that today we're going to talk about two of the major sort of compilations that sort of represented this period. One is Shine Like It Does. That came out in 2001, which was very much through the Rhino label, pretty much an American compilation and an American release. And we're going to talk about sort of the other one, which came out of Australia, which was called The Years, 1979 to 1997. Sort of covers that particular sort of period and tracks and stuff. But you may or may not be aware, but, in the next 12 months included, they did have other compilations come out, namely the definitive one, with the definitive INXS, and then the best of INXS. One being a UK release and one being an American release, which were trimmed down versions of these two big sort of double anthologies. So we'll park those for maybe next week and things. Now, I think I've sent out to you to do a little bit of homework over the last day or two, just these particular releases. They are jam-packed, aren't they, with material, I guess, aren't they?
Yeah, I think there's over 40 songs on each of those CDs, isn't there?
Absolutely. Now, let's start off with the Shine Like It Does anthology, because that was one that came first in 2001. You might not know this, but at the time, Kirk and Tim went over, I believe, to Tower Records in downtown LA. They performed a little acoustic set to promote the launch of this album.
Oh, have you seen some footage of that?
I tried to find it today, 2001. Don't see a lot of footage of it. Probably weren't smartphones in that period. But I do know Kirk sort of sung and Tim, played, obviously the guitar and things. Look, on Wikipedia, look, we want to share things that aren't just on Wikipedia. Wikipedia says it sold 35,000 copies. May have sold more since then. At the time, it was a consolidation, I guess, of a lot of the material they'd released in America. Now, can I read out side one to you, and we'll pause, 5 or 6 songs in on each. Curiously, the first 5 songs on the album, they actually put Simple Simon on as the lead track, which was their debut single. We Are the Vegetables, which was, I believe, a B-side off INXS. Just Keep Walking, we know. The Loved Ones, Stay Young, as the first 5. So these varied from the Australian release, but for pundits out there who are big collectors and want to know the distinctions, it did start off, as I said, with a couple of little variables to pique the audience's habits because, Simple Simon was there on an album, it was never an official release, and it's this little sort of mythical French single that's developed mythical proportions over the years, I think.
Yeah.
They then, from the Shaboo Shabazz section, they put 5 tracks on, and interestingly, they went and put at song 6, The One Thing, Don't Change, to look at you. Then they put on Here Comes 2, which was off the Decadence remix.
Yeah.
The actual Here Comes off Shabu was off the Decadence, which was more of a dance remix.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put Black and White, the extended version, which I believe is off one of the Decadences. They then, at song 11 off the Shine Like It Does anthology, went with Original Sin, obviously, Send a Message, Burn For You, Dancing on the Jetty, which were really the 4 singles in Australia. They then went into This Time, which a lot of people don't think, well, a lot of people don't remember this, but This Time was actually released first in America and in Europe ahead of What You Need. In Australia, What You Need was the lead single. But This Time, stiffed in America, stiffed in England.
Yeah.
The film clip was done by Godley and Cream, who we've talked about before from 10cc. But only hit number 80 or 81 in America, so they rushed out What You Need next, and then the world blew up with that. So that's why you see the track listing in America, with This Time at 15 sort of first, What You Need next at 16, Kiss the Dirt at 17, Listen Like These at 18, and then Shine Like It Does, which was never a single, but it's sort of developed that ballady historical proportions, and it's such a great name of the anthology here, where that sits at number 19 on sort of site or disc 1 of the compilation. They then throw in the Crocodile Dundee song, Different World, which personally I think is the worst INXS song ever recorded.
You do. Yeah.
And then it has Good Times at 21 with Jimmy Barnes. So I liked sort of the little sort of angles, the little side streets this compilation does here. It's something that is not cookie cutter and whatever there, and it does take into account the band's sort of wider repertoire.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool that they put those little nuggets in there as well for people that would only have known what you need in the original Sins, Never Tear Us Apart. Yeah.
So what's really interesting, if you were to say a pre-kick listener, and you're getting an INXS Shine Like It Does anthology, and you were discovering this band in 2001 for the first time, you've got this sort of representation, a lot of their Australian career, and then some of the US remixes and things like that, all on the first disc, which is pretty cool.
Very cool.
If you go over to disc 2 on Shine Like It Does, starts off with the Need You Tonight, obviously a kick. No Mediate. They don't put that on there as a sort of a seconder. They've separated it. It's got Devil Inside, but they put the Australian sort of edit on there at number 2 on side 2. New Sensation at 3, Never Tear Us Apart at 4, Mystify at 5, Kick at 6. No Guns in the Sky on there. Again, wasn't a single. Even Kick wasn't a single in America, nor was Mystify a single, I believe, in America. Mystify was a single in the UK. But again, such was the juggernaut that the Kick was. They were playing Mystify and Kick on the radio and even Guns in the Sky, albeit it probably didn't make the final list.
Yeah.
Entering the X phase, they've gone with Suicide Blonde at 7 on side 2, Disappear at 8, Bitter Tears at 9. And then they've thrown in, they haven't got By My Side on this one at all, because, again, in America, By My Side was never a single. It was a hit in England, it was a hit in Australia. So, again...
Strange, that one.
Yeah. And again, I always look at that and go, that should have been the single released after Disappear. I think that would have given the band another little, such a great ballad and film clip with Michael and the Sydney Opera House. I think that instead of Bitter Tears should have been the 3rd single, and maybe Bitter Tears the 4th single.
Yeah.
And look, they've gone to the Stairs, the live version at number 10. That's really the Live Baby Live live album version of that. So it's not so much the X version. They've then at song 11 got Heaven Sent. They've got Not Enough Time, the Barcelona LEP fade mix. Again, as listeners may remember, that particular edit or single edit was very, very important at the time because it was around the Olympics in 1992. So the word Barcelona LEP fade mix. That's the version you get on that Olympic album, and also the first single off Welcome.
Yeah.
So they've shoved that behind Heaven Sent that wasn't released in America as a single, was in England and Australia. They've thrown Tasted In at 13, Beautiful Girl at 14. Flipping to the Full Moon stuff, they've put The Gifted at 15, Police at 16, No Time is there at 17 at all. There's no Freedom Deep, which were Australian singles. At song 17, they've gone into the compilation of The Strangers Party, single release of the compilation album that's
never on a single. It was never on an album. Yeah.
Yeah, that was just a single that was off the, as I said, the INXS Greatest Hits in 94.
Mm-hmm.
They've then gone into the Elegantly Wasted phase with Elegantly Wasted on there at 18. One of the weirdest ones they put out here is Let It Ride at 19, which was a B-side of everything and was only on the Japanese album version. And it's a great song. It should have been on the album. But they've just whacked it in here onto the Shine Like It Does one, which is weird. You think Guns in the Sky versus Let It Ride, you'd probably think Guns in the Sky might resonate,
Yeah, yeah.
By the way, it is a cool little deep cut, side track movement. I don't mind.
Very cool to find that on there.
Yes. A little nugget, as we said earlier, B. Number 20, Don't Lose Your Head. Number 21, Searching. Now, again, Don't Lose Your Head was off the Face Off soundtrack, was the 3rd single off the album, and then Searching, the Lead Station mix, the Radio Edit mix, the last single the band ever released with Michael. So that's 21 songs on side 2. So you got 21 on side 1, disc 1, I should say, and 21 on disc 2, making it 42 songs. I remember at the time, in June 2001, when this came out.
Frothing at the mouth.
Yeah, I'm just going, wow, this is awesome. Like, at this point in time, yeah, and here's the thing. I think I bought this in America. I don't know if I bought it in Australia or bought it on an import from America, but can't quite remember. But I definitely remember getting it and thinking, oh my God, I've got something that not many people in Australia have. Could have been an import, I was in the States and got it, but it was definitely something you couldn't really buy just through the retail setting in Australia. It was very specific to the American market only. From a time perspective, you get 76 minutes on disc 1 and about 78, 79 minutes on disc 2. So,
that's wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's put our heads...
It's a party.
Yeah. So if you were this type of listener, if you were sort of a Listen Like Thieves Kick X listener, there's a lot of great stuff around here to introduce you to the earlier stuff and then to the later stuff that you dropped off on. If you were just a fantastic INXS fan or a really purposeful fan, again, there's a lot of really great stuff here, all in the one package there that you can dive deep on.
And it was around about this time that they actually started their .com as well, wasn't it? So I did notice that on their albums that they actually write there about if you want more information to go to their website now as well, their .com. So that was pretty good advertising for that.
Yeah.
More information.
That sort of .com era where everything was becoming new and we're accessing information in a much more immediate way.
Yeah.
I think the other thing, from a fan point of view, if you're looking back and saying, okay, well, I've always been a singles sort of person only and I've just listened to band singles, well, there's enough, as I said, little varied deep cuts here that you could sort of go, oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't mind exploring that album stuff further because I like, for example, I like Let It Ride. Okay, well, cool. I don't know that one. I might go listen to the rest of Elegantly Wasted. Or if I'm listening to, for example, what is it, Shine Like It Does? I'm like, I haven't heard that before. It was never really a single, or maybe it was out. Okay, I might check out Listen Like These a bit more. So I do like some of the interesting little detour and cuts on this. The other thing that's probably the most special thing about having the actual CD version of this is there's a great 62-page, deep cut analysis on all the tracks and a lot of the material. The gentleman called David Frick, who I've mentioned before on previous podcasts, he was a guy who loved INXS. He's the guy who headed up Rolling Stone America for a long time as the editor. He does a really good analysis in the liner notes there. There's sort of new interviews with the band, I think, that are in there. You get to hear from sort of, Andrew recalling, just different information that, when he wrote songs, there and they, with Michael and some funny anecdotes and things.
So I don't know if you have you actually got the CD there? Do you want to describe the cover?
Yeah, I probably should have had it with me, but it is filed away in my garage in all my sort of compilations and things. But I do remember reading at the time, and as I said, if you do get a tactile version of this through secondhand record stores or through various, swap and buy and sell scenarios, and maybe the INXS collectible guys can steer you accordingly. Within that 62-page document, it's not just David Frick there, but you do get, as I said, great reflections on sort of the material. You get some great photos, some great insights, some great discussions about each track, chart positions. It's a really great example of not going, I just like streaming. It's, if you really care about a band, maybe it is more of a fan nerdy thing, but you do care about the band. It does actually offer you insights on things that maybe you don't know about. We might be able to reach out to the collectible guys. They might be able to sort of take some pics and post something out there that we can put on our platforms and things that people can see. But I think, overall, when this sort of 42 sort of song sort of collection came out, it really sort of, pardon my French, it sort of shitted all over the previous US edition, which was a 16 sort of song with two, songs added into it, which were, great, two new singles. One was Deliver Me and one was Strangest Party. I made the 1994 issue, pale into comparison. Mine was when bands put out these things and when the labels did, they did jack the prices up. So this was, in the high $30, $40 mark back in 2001, which is a lot of money, that, people can't always afford to pay back in 2001. And it was an issue for Guns N' Roses 10 years early in 1991 when they put two albums out at the same time. People having to afford to be able to go and spend $20 on each of them roughly to have them. Disposable money, is all relative to time of your wage. But as a person, if you didn't have all the albums and, wanted to be a collector or whatever, this was, as I said, as the word says, a pure anthology that rewarded the purchaser.
Fantastic. So you went out and bought it straight away, did you, Hayden?
I did. I
have it on order.
All I know is I got it quickly.
Yeah.
The first available opportunity wherever I was at the time. But it wasn't something that was available as a general thing in Australian stores. If it was, it could have been in some of those independent outlets where they do imports and things. Again, our guys in the collectibles, listeners like Pedro and David, we'd love you to sort of participate throughout this next week or two if you listen to this episode. Maybe some of your liner notes, share ways people might be able to get access to this particular one now, because I haven't done the research as to seeing if it's still live and available and where it can be. Sometimes things get deleted where they're not available anymore and they're just the existing supply is what's out there in the world. Be like Richard Simkins' book, there's a certain amount printed.
That's right. It keeps going up in value.
Also too, Pete, what's also quite appealing is it's just quite classically put together with the star on the cover and just the white and the silver star. Did you like the way it was sort of put together?
Yeah, it was very
artistically.
classy. Like you say, it was very graphic, easy and clean, and identifiable in the shops. Okay, Hayden, let's flip over to the other CD that we want to review, which is the years 1979 to 1997, which was the Australian release.
All right, B. So this particular release, again, this was released in December 2002, so roughly about 18 months after the USA anthology. Primarily in Australia. I can double check, some of the links overseas, but I think it was pretty much an Australian sort of release. Now, let me just share sort of a notion here. INXS were still, for all intents and purposes, 18 months later, emerging out of its slumber. I hate saying this phrase, but to say commercially speaking, they were on the nose a little bit would be a true reflection of the time.
Yes.
Management, though, did put this greatest hits album sort of together, and on the back end of the American disc, this particular Australian equivalent probably does take into account some of the sort of relevances to their career in Australia a little bit more. It's a fantastic release. I know at the time, and you pulled out just before we started recording, B, you had the sort of the special deluxe version, which not only has the double CDs, but also has the DVDs of all the live stuff and also a lot of the film clips there, where each band member is talking about some of the video clips that were made. We're not going to tackle too much of that stuff in terms of the visual stuff today. We'd like to just deal with more the audio and the actual songs. But it is an awesomely well put together package. Again, aesthetically, great sort of cover there with the red. Probably even better and more branding than the Shine Like It Does cover, with the red there and the band showing the welcome sort of type to wherever you are walking sort of through with their suitcases in a sort of a silhouette version there. The interiors are great inside. As I speak, B's pointing away with the band holding the Australian flag inside. Like the actual urge and the reiteration of buying tangible copies of things cannot be argued enough. The CDs have got that fantastic red, white, and black, sort of looks like a compass type thing inside. It's just fantastic the way it's been artfully put together. Getting into the material and the songs, B, let's start off again and look at the track listing, and we'll deal with disc 1 again. Now, just for comparison purposes, we've got, on this particular double release, we've got 41 songs, so there's one song less. However, we will address the variations as we speak. This one opens up with Just Keep Walking, which really was probably the band's first hit. No Simple Simon on this particular one. It goes into the Love one, which
and no vegetables on this one.
No, well, the other one is Where the Vegetables is set a B-side off the INXS compilations and off some of the singles. So No Simple Simon, no Where the Vegetables. It goes into Stay Young. So the first 3 tracks on here are all on the anthology. Going into the Shabu Shabar part of the here at song 4, you got The One Thing, Don't Change at 5, To Look at You at 6. Doesn't have Black and White, which is a bit weird because that was a top 25 hit in Australia as a single, and it's not on the anthology. Well, sorry, it's not on the Years version, which is just Australian one, even though it was a hit here. So that's a sort of a bit of a glaring omission. Going into song 7, which is the start of the swing era, they've got Original Sin at 7, Send a Message at 8, Burn For You at 9, Dancing with Jetty at 10. So that marries up very similarly to the Shine Like It Does anthology.
Yes.
If we go into the Listen Like the Thief stuff, it goes with the Australian narrative in the sense that it plays What You Need first. Oh, no, sorry. Correction. It goes this time first.
Yes.
Okay. So it does actually do the same equivalent as the UK in America. What You Need at, so this time 11, What You Need at 12, Kiss the Dirt at 13, Listen Like These at 14, Shine Like It Does at 15. So very similar in the sense, the same sort of 5 tracks there. Doesn't play A Different World, thankfully, and it doesn't play Good Times. I think they look at that as in terms of their career as a cover song. It's not in excess, so we're not putting it on there, albeit they contribute stuff to have the Love one. But they did make the Love one really their own,
Yes, it did.
All right. Going to the kick here at song 16, Edge of Tonight, it's at 16. No Mediate Again is on here. Devil Inside at 17, New Sensation 18, Mystify 19, Kick 20, Never Tear Us Apart at 21. Again, No Guns in the Sky. All right, side 2, disc 2, starts off with the X era with Suicide Blonde, Disappear, Bitter Tears, By My Side, The Stairs. 5 songs that represent in order.
Live again.
No live version. This is the actual X version on this.
Oh, I've got live on mine.
No, you're looking at the Shine Like It Does one.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. It's not on the.
I'm looking at this one.
What number song does it say?
It is number 5, Stairs, live.
All right, no problems. Well, you've got the actual one there. I will back you in. Wikipedia here has got the Stairs here without saying live in brackets on the year. So,
okay.
Again, I don't have my copy in front of me. I will back you in on that one. Mm-hmm. Interestingly, though, B, they do put on this particular one, Shining Star, which was single. So essentially, it's a song off the Live Baby Live album, which was the single and was a hit in England and Australia. It was on there. At song 7, when we're in the Welcome to Wherever You Are period, they put 5 songs on here, which is different to Shine, like it does anthology, where they only have 4. The 5 here being Heaven Sent, Taste It, Baby Don't Cry, Beautiful Girl, and Not Enough Time, which are on the Australian The Years version. Going into the Full Moon era at song 12, they've got The Gift, they've got Please You Got That, they've got Time on this particular one, which is not on the Shine Like It Does anthology. Time was probably the most popular sing-along song, particularly the tours and on the Full Moon tour and then subsequent tours in Australia. Time has a relevance here, in terms of its still enduringness. And even over the years, in the next 20 years, when other singers came and sung, they often would play Time as a live song more than The Gift. Okay. No Freedom Deep on this particular one, albeit it was a single and it charted. It is not on the year's compilation.
I was going to say it's not in either of them, is it?
No, it was never released in America or England. In terms of song 15, The Strangest Party, as we mentioned earlier, is on the initial greatest hits in 94, is on here as well. Moving Delicately Wasted at song 16, Don't Lose Your Head at 17, Searching at 18 is on here. Interestingly, there's no Everything on here, which we love everything, and we love it, the song and the clip and whatever there.
Love everything.
A bit of a mistake, I think, not putting that one on here, given it had more relevance as a single than others, compared to Searching.
Being that there's 21 on CD1 and then 20, so yeah, it should have been on there, shouldn't it?
Should be. They then put on, for marketing purposes, 2 additional tracks, and they were probably trying to sort of milk a little bit of, a couple of tracks on there that were, technically not released at all on other material. Salvation Jane does appear on the X 10-year anniversary edition as an extra song. There are 2 versions of this, as you know, one where Michael sings and one where Andrew sings it, okay? At the time of recording right here now, I can't remember if it's the Andrew version on this one.
No, I can't either, no.
Yeah, but it is on here. But this song was also given to Jenny Morrison on one of her albums as well.
Yeah.
It lyrically is a fantastic song. It talks, it has a countdown from 1 through to such and such, and talks a lot about flowers from, all sorts of stuff. I think Salvation Jane is a flower. So, again, there's a sort of little nugget of something like, okay, I'm buying a greatest hits. Why am I actually getting
what extra
hits?
am I getting? Yeah.
I'm getting a little nugget track that's not on anything else at that point in time. There was another song in there called Tight, which was a remix by Dan Automator, and there's a version called the Thick Dick version. I'm sorry, everybody. There is. But Dan the Automator...
Thick Richard, you mean?
Well, probably, but Dan Automator was a remix guy at the time. I think he might have been doing stuff with various bands and also maybe with Gorillaz later on as well. The song Tight was sort of released as a single at the time in Australia, and there was a video which is really a compilation of Michael singing and different cuts putting in there where it wasn't the song he was singing, but they put lots of edits together and made a video out of it. So-so song. It's sort of one that just sort of, okay, it's there.
A bit naughty, isn't it, Tight? But I do like it.
Yeah. Look, if anyone's watched Breaking Bad later on, where you see some scenes where they are, there's a lot of crystal meth in that show, where the word take comes up, it probably has relevance to that. But Salvation Jane definitely, I think, is a worthwhile track for the purchase price and things also. From a recognition point of view, this particular album went platinum, I think, about 6 months later, about 4 months later in March, and, became sort of, in Australia particularly, sort of the Go2 greatest hits sort of, compilation thing, as time permitted. There was a reduced version of this particular album where there was a smaller version with not every track on it. And then ironically, if we fast forward another 7 or 8 years later, as you and I both know, how many years has the other greatest hits been in the charts for? And that's only 21, 22 songs roughly as well. So price-wise, that later album that had 10 years in the charts was, $10 to $15. It was affordable. It was attention span. It wasn't a big catalogue sort of, deep dive like this. So this type of double album compilation as well, in sync with similarity to the anthology American version, was always going to, attract less volume in sales because it's a little bit more, boutique fan related. You've got to be a real deep diver, a real fanboy, good fangirl, have the cash disposal, or be really curious to buy it. So it as much as it's a thorough release, it's not going to attract people.
But if it went platinum, they had quite a few copies sold.
Yeah, that's right. So, so from that sort of point of view, that was an important release in Australia. I guess over the years, it has sort of, as I said, been phased out with other releases that have come about. We'll go through those at a different time. I guess overall, what it did do for the band in Australia at that particular point was gave them sort of a little bit of marketplace relevance. There was a singular video coming out, some promotion, etc. There could have been much more heavily promoted by management. But as we know at the time, there wasn't Chris Murphy at the time. He was in hiatus. There was Dave Edwards involved. There was probably the band and different sort of, initiatives going on with John Stevens, in terms of a cohesive, it wasn't like they had a big tour, they had an album out, they were doing all the press junkets or whatever. It's one of those things that sort of management released to probably, as I said, bring revenue streams in. Compared to some other releases at future references we talk about, it's a really well put together, thought out and considered release. And if you can get access to this through, as I said, various swap, buy and sell meets or various online platforms like the Collectibles, or if you do find in record stores or wherever around the world in secondhand stores, I'd urge you to get it, because the liner notes themselves are equally as impressive, if not quite the same level as the anthology. They're still very, very impressively put together, as B's flashing them across the screen as we speak. B, let me draw breath for a moment. Give me your take on this particular one, because this probably one's been more relevant to you, I guess, over time, hasn't it?
From a visual point of view, I love it. I like you say, the red, it's so tactile as well. I just love looking at all the fun photos. I've even got a little pocket in my deluxe version. I do say, if you do, like what Hayden was saying, go out there and try and find this. But even the notes from the guys, they've all done a little piece in this actual box set that I've got. And some really good little nuggets here. I just want to read some out, if that's okay, Hayden.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, there's a piece, there's more than what I'm saying, but there's a little bit here from Johnny. It says, it's been an amazing journey filled with some awesome memories that in reflection seem totally surreal. But the common thread through all of these experiences is the music. I look at these opportunities that we have had with gratitude and respect. We have respect for each other as members of the band and respect for anyone who has had anything to do with our lives. INXS is the most beautiful gift, and I thank all of our fans for recognising and supporting us for all these years. God bless.
Ah, lovely.
Isn't he lovely?
Lovely, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also, too, taking us back in this point in time, one of the reasons sometimes record companies put these things together is because they believe the band is finishing up, and it is an epitaph to their career, and it's a way of, putting all the A to Z stuff in the right sort of place for people to find it. And as I said, there was no sort of definitency, as I said, at the time of release of the band. We're going to be a going concern thereafter. And as a result of that, yes, they look to consolidate some of this stuff into sort of one place. If you are, as I said, a listener of INXS, and you are, as I said, maybe not a deep diver like some, we encourage you to get these compilations and as I said, play them from start to finish and find out some tracks and some other versions of things you've never heard of or whatever. Because, as I said again, when I was younger, finding those best ofs and those compilations were really, really cool. We here in Australia have a place near our country called Bali, which is part of Indonesia. Often we would go to Bali. Well, not often. We did go to Bali a couple of times in my youth, but they over there would do pirating copies of bands. So my first sort of experience of say, listening to U2 was getting a tape in Bali where they put a compilation of the first 3 albums of all their hits and singles onto one thing. So I always used to listen to the U2's early stuff and thought it was all on one album, but it was this really cool compilation that put together, 3 or 4 of their albums onto the one thing. Sometimes what we do hope that those sort of compilations do is pique enough interest for you to then go back and suddenly look at some of these tracks and go, well, gee, what else could be off that album? Then you go buy the album individually and you then suddenly listen to that album for what it is. And we know a lot of people have been on our journey and have done that. But if you are a sort of a newer listener and you don't know all the material, hey, get these compilations if you can, veer back into the individual albums and do yourself a favour and have a lot of fun doing it.
Awesome. I can't wait to revisit this album.
The more I'm looking and talking about this stuff today, there's so many compilations that came out over the next sort of 12 months, 2 years and 3 years. And as I said, again, we're going to do a second part of the compilation stuff there as well. And whether it's next week or in a few weeks' time, there's more stuff to dive deep on. There's one I'd love to just sort of, flag with everybody, and that was the Remixes one that came out in 2004. And that was really, really cool at the time because, dance music around sort of 2004 was, particularly rock bands that had a dance flavour. And we think back to bands like the Bravery and the Killers and Arcade Fires, and some of these bands were having these sort of amalgam of dance and different styles. The 2004, remix album is really excellent with all the fantastic sort of remixes there, like even Basement Jaxx remix everything, on that particular release and things as well. And, Dave Lorimer and Polo 440 and Oakenfield. I mean, there's so many great things on that. And we'll tackle some of those sort of compilations in future weeks. But look, we hope this one today has piqued your interest. If you didn't know it existed, now you know you've got a nugget to go and find and explore. And we just hope you enjoy the journey if you do find them and listen to them all.
Hi, you're listening to the #1 INXS podcast. And now it's time for fan engagement.
Well, here we are. Fan engagement. How are you over there in Florida? I'm steaming here.
Well, hello, beautiful bee. It's been so long since I've seen your beautiful face. Florida is fine. It's a little chilly. We just had a little cold front come through, but we'll be back in the sweltering like Australia. I'm pretty sure pretty soon.
I'm here in this like tiny little top, and then you've got your woolies on over there. So yeah, it's good to see you, sweetheart. It's good. What's come across your desk with fan engagement this week?
Lots and lots and lots. First of all, I would love to give a little shout out to a girl that has just come on our Facebook, and she is so excited that we gave her name a shout out. So Jackie, we see you, and she's got this cute little emoji or little GIF or whatever you want to call it. It's like a little teenager squealing. She's so excited. So cute.
And that was on our post that we've just posted onto Facebook, wasn't it? Yeah. So we did a post, great picture that I found there of Tim, John, Gary, and Kirk all being with the microphone. And yeah, big shout out to all those. I think there's over 50 people that have been engaging with us this week. And in fact, what I should say is more than that. I'm only allowed to tag in 50 people. So big up to you guys, and especially to Jackie there. And I've also just seen a few others, Desiree and Lisa. So thank you, guys. That's great.
Yes, and I would love to give a big shout out to brand new site members. It's been a while since we've had some of these people called out, but we haven't forgot about you, Linda, Kim, Wendy, Denise, Kristen, Terry, Lauren, Luna, and Joanne. Thank you so much for signing up. We appreciate all your support.
And the swing turned 40 this week. Hayden and I have already mentioned that, but some of you have already gone to our Facebook page, and I just want to read out a couple of your comments. John there, he says, they're best in my opinion, with my favourite song being Burn For You, the keyboard crescendo, which you know I can't say that, John, and towards the end is spine tingling. And Tracy, with an I, Original Sin is iconic, and I love Burn For You. Oh, we all love Burn For You too. This is from Baza. It's a classic album. Love it all, to be honest. But as time has passed, Love Is What I Say has resonated more and more. I think that's, a lot of us think that too. Rachel, one of my favourite albums from them. And Phil, I love all the voices. And Johnson's Aeroplane is a personal favourite, just a great record. What's your favourite of the swing?
It's probably going to be Love Is What I Say. But the video for Melting in the Sun, the one that some people may not have seen where Michael's like running through the streets, that's probably my favorite video from the swing era. But yeah, Love Is What I Say is just...
Good segue there, because you asked me off air what I was going to do while I was in the UK. And I was thinking, I wonder if I could find that street and run along it. But you got a better idea, didn't you?
Yes. So are you going to go back to where you saw INXS for the very first time?
I love that idea. I am going to go to Birmingham Odeon and see if I can get onto the balcony and scream like a banshee, like I did back in 1986. Now, Danielle says I should have a photo taken of me on that balcony with my mullet from when I was a kid. I don't know. We'll see how that one goes. And then somebody called Shanaz, Shahazad. This CD, Swing, listen to all the songs. That was the best album. But bless you guys. That's great that you've commented there. Oh, and then JD has just put something up a couple of hours ago. What was that, Danielle?
It looks like coming from JD Fortune's Facebook page. We're assuming this is a self-portrait. He has not answered back, but it is a very good portrait of JD. And he's kind of got some hashtags of the devil inside, love music, hashtag INXS, and then hashtag coming soon. So I wonder if JD's got something coming out pretty soon. Maybe this is an album cover for him. Ooh.
Go JD. We can't wait to have you on the show soon. I'm sure it'll be in the next 20 episodes. It was also, I found a great a great picture of John Lydon, or Johnny Rotten, as some of you might know him as, with I think a few of the band. I don't think all of them were in there. Definitely Michael and Gary were in that picture. And Desiree, this picture was taken at the Hard Rock Cafe in New Orleans. We were also there. Wow, Desiree, you'll have to tell us more. It was our first show, that leg of the tour. Also saw them in Dallas and New York, all 3 nights at Radio City and Philly. Wow. And then a guy called Brett Martini. What a great name. We had the pleasure of supporting INXS on the UK leg of the Kick Tour. Wow. They were on fire, and Michael became a friend until the day he died. A lovely man. Oh, wow, Brett. Get in touch, mate.
I'm going to go with Darren on this picture. It says he looks like Yahoo Serious. And if you're in Australia, you know who Yahoo Serious is. And I'll give you that one, Darren. It kind of looks like him.
And we have to say happy birthday to Terence Tent Darby, who is Amanda Maitreya. And then we've got a couple of messages here. Sorry, we've got a couple of comments here from Ray. He did a great job with INXS and the concert they did. Hutch is impossible to replace. We know that. But of all the singers INXS worked with after Hutch passed, he did the best job. INXS songs are so good and they're truly one of the finest bands we have ever seen. Big up for that. Rest in peace, Michael. And then Vernon, one of our patrons. Hi, Vernon. A real connection in more ways than one. Proper soul brothers. Yes, I see that too. I love that.
I like what Alejandro has put. INXS plus TTD equals instant supergroup. I love that.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, I love that
Yeah.
too. Oh, and our last guest, Frank. Uncle Frank even. We had a lovely message from a guy called Mark with a C. And fantastic interview with Frank from the Fun-Loving Criminals. His long-time admiration of Michael and the band sounded genuine. I sent that on to Frank Mark for you, and he sends a kiss back. He loved that too.
Just all these connections being made.
Yeah,
Love it.
yeah. And Frank's
Love
just
it.
got in touch and said he's going to tell as many music friends as possible about the podcast. So thank you. You are one of our biggest engagers this week, Frank. But you've been picked at the post, unfortunately, by INXS Official.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. What did they do?
Well, I think they may have saw one of our posts and maybe just had an idea. Came up, yeah, and came up with their own post after they saw our post.
So INXS Official put a post out on their socials saying, what sums up your INXS week? I think that's what Hayden asks me most weeks. That was good. I really liked that. And my personal one was I like to kill the pain because I'm on these new painkillers and they're brilliant. Calling all nations, where I do it every day nearly. And I was back online. Yes.
Yay.
Editing, which is brilliant, my new editing suite. But I've got a couple here. Frank, he's just keep walking. He's mystified and he might disappear. And we've got Michelle. She's cutting down the roses. She's got a bit of friction going on sometimes, and she's laughing about that. And then we've got Anne-Marie, one of our top patrons. Guns in the skies, disappears, and she's unconditionally wasted. How about you, Danielle? What's your INXS week feeling like?
Well, earlier in the week, I wanted to disappear. And then I got to go have some fun. So I was elegantly wasted, and it brought me back to have a new sensation. So,
Whoa!
I was just scrolling through Facebook when I got home from work, because, you can't do that while you're at work. For some reason, I got this ad on my phone, all the billions of ads that everybody get. And it was for a Warner Music experience. I've never heard of this. And it was an advertisement for a streaming device called Roku, which I don't know if anybody in Australia or the UK, but I know that's like a streaming device that we have here in the United States. They were advertising a gorgeous man singing a song on the stage with 5 other gorgeous men, and it was INXS. And I was just like, oh my gosh, it's INXS. You can now stream on Roku the Full Moon Dirty Hearts visual album.
Fantastic.
Which I was really surprised. Really surprised.
And this is Warner Brothers.
It just says Warner Music Experience.
Fantastic. We love you guys.
Yeah, so if you have that streaming device and you want to see, I guess, the visual album from Full Moon Dirty Hearts, go check it out. So yeah, there you go. That's been my engagement for the last couple of weeks, B.
Well, thank you, Danielle, for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure to see you and speak with you. And it's always a pleasure to speak with all our fans out there as well, our fans and INXS fans. If you ever want to share our post, please do. Get the message out. Let's get the listeners, let's get this band into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And this is what we need to do, get that message out.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it.
Hey, this is Paul Jolly from Sydney, and this is The Big Rap.
All right, B, well, that's a little bit of a wrap. As we said earlier, there's so many compilations. We won't probably slam that everybody every week because I think this is a nice little topic to probably revisit a couple of months when they relate to, or every couple of years almost. As I said, there's probably about 10 or 12 different compilations throughout.
Wow, really?
And I was just remembering earlier today, we've already talked about the INXS one and also the greatest hits of 94, and now we've done 2 more. So we've sort of done 4 of 12. So a little bit of work to do, but we hope, as I said, people are figuring out or finding out about stuff they didn't know beforehand.
That's right, and I'm sure they're going to be enjoying them.
Yeah, just reiterating about the competition for those early in the episode who weren't paying attention. There are 2 tickets to the Rock Wall of Fame up by a very generous donator to our podcast, and you can win those by just entering our particular competition, which B will draw out of a hat at an appropriate time. Nobody loves a hat more than B, okay? And we've also got a forum where if you're not a patron, you can pay $10 and you can join the comp, or if you are a patron, it is free to join. You just have to nominate your name and details. B, is that thorough and detailed enough?
Fantastic. Just the expiry time. So you've got to get them in by the 31st of March, which is not far away.
Yep.
So email us, and so we can put you into my hat.
100%. So one of the things, obviously, also, B, that we try and do on this particular podcast is plan ahead, and we are excited about the journey that comes ahead. And, I had to laugh the other day, B, just thinking of our Mark Pellington interview and just how that took a little bit of a U-turn, and looking forward to a couple of little sneaky guests that people may not expect coming up in the next month or two. So working diligently on it, so diligently, I haven't even told you about it yet. But once I know they're in the can, I will share with you.
I like a surprise, so don't you worry about that.
And back in the early days, B did a lot of heavy lifting, getting a lot of guests on, etc. there. If you got anything in your tank, I know, B, you were chasing John Stevens down.
Well, no, I've handed that one to you, mate.
Oh, okay.
You're good at the emails.
All right, okay. Send me his contact details and I'll see if I can reach out and get him on. All right, we're going to go out today with a little bit of a tribute song, completely self-indulgent today. Hopefully the circumstances do allow it to be. I'm going to go with a little bit of a dedication to my dearly beloved late dad who lost a very courageous sort of battle in the last couple of weeks. And, we all, like father, sons, you have all your ups and downs over the journey, but it's always great that, you look back at the good times and what they were in your life and how they helped shape you as a person. And I'm going into the song today, B, and it's going to be a live song, so we get away with putting it on. Hello, Spotify. And secondly, it's not an INXS song, but it's a song that I believe INXS at the 1993 ARIA Awards were there at the time, and they may have called out as Song of the Year that particular year. I think Tim from memory was the one who called out the winner of this song. The song is called Father's Day. It's by an Australian band called Weddings, Parties, Anything, which is an awesome name of a band. They were a band in the early 80s to the sort of the mid-90s. The song Father's Day, really, if you listen to the lyrics and listen to the melody, it speaks for itself. So I'm going to go with a little bit of tribute to my dad. Father's Day, it's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from B. Bye, everybody.